Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's bring the Regional Council meeting for March the 9th, 2026 to order, please. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in the traditional territory of our friends, neighbors, and Treaty 8 partners of Fort Nelson First Nation, as well as the Prophet River First Nation. We recognize the rights provided by our treaty, and we also celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available to the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Are there any additions, council? Staff?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any public who wishes to speak to tonight's agenda in the room? I don't see any online. Okay, adoption of the agenda is in order, please. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Grimming. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We have five sets of minutes for adoption. The Committee of the Whole, February 6th, Special Regional Council, February the 9th, Committee of the Whole, February 9th, Committee of the Whole, February 23rd, Regional Council meeting, February 23rd for adoption. Moved by Councillor Gerwing, second by Councillor Roper. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing no errors or omissions, all in favor of adoption? Opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising from those minutes or questions, clarifications? Council? Staff? Okay. So that brings us to reports, bylaws, and policies. So our first report tonight is number 1326, Age-Friendly Community Grants Program. Welcome again.
Thank you again. All right, so as stated, this report outlines an opportunity for the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality to submit an application to the Age-Friendly Communities Program for the funding amount of $25,000, which is 100% of the project costs, to support the development of an assessment and action plan addressing seniors' housing. As you'll read, the assessment and action plan would involve the establishment of a working group, an analysis of the current state of seniors housing, a series of planning workshops involving stakeholders in the community, with the development of an action plan, as well as identification of opportunities to refine and operationalize the plan. This opportunity would complement and formalize work that's been underway for the past number of years, as you'll know, which would be of benefit not only to the municipality and local senior service providers and citizens, but also potential investors to the community. I'd just like to point out that it provides an opportunity to operationalize and respond to the recommendations made in the recent Complete Community Needs Strategy, as well as the interim housing report.
Thank you. Any questions from council? So I think part of this is to consolidate those recommendations from both of those reports, correct? Yeah. Okay. The only other thing I'd like to say is, can we try to include the seniors advisor? Because the seniors advisor, the provincial seniors advisor, and I'm just forgetting his name, you might know better than me. Dan Levitt was interested in coming to the community this spring, and this kind of all fits. And so if we either we're involving him by getting him involved or by getting the report to him, and however he sees that, I think would be important to make this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To make it more fulsome or complete, I guess. Does anybody else have any questions? Councillor Andrews, please.
So would this funding go to hire out a consultant to assist with this, or is it in-house?
No, it would be, I would say about $20,000 of the $25,000 budget would go towards the consultant. We see that as being advantageous due to them taking on the bulk of the coordination and the logistics, with staff advising and consulting as needed.
Deputy Mayor, do you have a comment?
Nope.
Seniors portfolio. Okay.
Hey, I told you Dan's name.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
I am waiting to make the recommendation though. But...
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make the recommendation that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality submit an application to the Age-Friendly Communities Program for funding in the amount of $25,000 to support the development of an assessment and action plan addressing seniors housing.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gerwing. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Roper. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It carries.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, 7.2, the next order of business is the investment reserve funds policy. Did I miss? No, that's right. To be adopted for adoption. Staff, please.
At the committee of the whole, we took one last look at the proposed policy, and it was identified it was ready to come forward to council for approval.
Okay, so, oh yeah, it's a policy, so it's, yeah. So any questions? Seeing none, would somebody like to make the resolution?
Or recommend that the investment of reserve funds policy 71-25 be adopted as presented.
Moved by Councillor Souls. Do I have a second? Or Councillor Andrews? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, 7.3 is administrative report 15, grant application to local government development approvals program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
The report before you this evening is a request for a resolution from council for staff to apply to the UBCM Local Government Development Approvals Program. We're hoping to apply for $100,000, which will be 100% funded to develop and update the development applications procedure. The original procedure was drafted in 2015, but was never formally updated since that time. And with the updating of the official community parent plan, the building bylaw and implementation of the 2024 building code, we're seeing a need to update those procedures and get a more fulsome process in place.
Questions? Was this project in the budget? It's new to the budget, right? Okay. Okay, thanks. I didn't think I read anything about it, so.
No, it came up on us pretty quick here. The
Yeah,
actual,
so it makes sense that if we've got a development applications procedures that's 10 years old and never really was finished, that we finish it. If we get money to do it, it makes sense, so. Okay, what would council like to do? Council Roper, please.
I'll move the recommendation that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality submit an application to the Union of BC Municipalities Local Government Development Approvals Program for funding in the amount of $100,000 to support the update of the NRRM's development applications procedure and the preparation of development permitting guides.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Roper. Do I have a seconder? Councilor Andrews. Is there any further discussion?
Just one statement that the reason it hasn't been updated in years is that there's been so little development around here that we haven't even bothered to look at it. That's sad.
Yeah. Okay. Now that you've depressed us all.
Yes. You're welcome.
Would you like to vote on this? All in favor? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Right.
Yeah, just stab us, just right now. Okay, administration report number 16, the town hall transformer renewal. Mr. O'Shaughnessy, please.
and again, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, we just recently presented this information in the latest budget session that we held. Just wanted to give you some more updates on this project. As you can see, the project total cost is approximately 1.9 million. The ask is for 2.2 million to ensure that we cover off full project delivery to accommodate any potential cost fluctuations. On the back, we can see a highlight of the items laid out, what the projected cost estimate is for the item. And based on the BC Housing cost sharing agreement, once we get that back, we can see that the municipality's share of the cost will be reduced to hopefully around $1 million. So we're hoping for 50% cost sharing. Also, we just wanted to include the fact of the inclusion of the generator component. significantly improves the resiliency for the emergency management aspect of the town hall, and ensures the continuity of operations for the town hall as well. So that was a big part, and that was initially brought forward by Grace Manor themselves, just out of safety considerations for the seniors over there during some of those previous power outages. And to council's point during the budget discussion with regarding to other tenanted spaces, we did look into costs to connect the other two tenanted spaces that are on their own separate feed. And from the architects and the electrical engineers, they assume that cost to be somewhere in the vicinity of 500 to 800,000 additionally to connect those two spaces. So it's quite an undertaking. It's not just a simple plug and play. And it would also have to change some of the design of what we're ready to go for tender at this time as well. So yeah, I think that's it.
Explain to me, please, how we missed the value of this by so much on the, like, from 800,000 to 200 or 2.2 million, like.
So initially, quite honestly, the number was just a pullout from the architect, was just roughly saying this was approximately how much we think it might be, with no considerations for the generator. At that time, we weren't talking about that or any of those aspects as well. And then once you start doing the detailed design, things come to light, changes get made. We also realized that because of this storage area being removed, we'll need to utilize the upstairs of here for storage, which is we're going to need to flip the stairs back this way. It seems like a little, but it ends up being a lot at the end of the day once you do all those things.
Wow. And we did put this in the budget.
Correct.
1 million or so we put in, or did we put the entire 2.2 in?
The additional ask was 1.4 million because it's a carryover of 800,000 from last year.
Okay. Okay, and we're expecting there'll be revenues. Does the other funder, have they been informed that there's a significant increase in the?
Yes, they have received our Class A cost estimate as well. They know exactly what the cost of the project is as well.
And they're still prepared to.
They, in speaking to the project manager for them, they and their management team say they have no concerns with sharing those capital costs. Currently, it's with their legal team, and their legal team is, as they say, just doing what legal teams do.
Okay. Sounds like the project's going. Okay. Counselor Andrews has a question.
Not really specific to this project, just mostly on how we present these projects and the pricing. I'm just curious if council had thoughts on it. Like, we've got our construction cost estimate sitting here. So as a contractor who's going to bid this, I kind of know already where the money's sitting. And you would, if we got 6 quotes, you think they're going to be really close to that number because they're not going to want to leave it on the table. So maybe not presenting full costs. We could potentially get better quotes. Like, we can have the total budget. I think, I don't know how we could, but still continue transparency, but try to tighten that up a little bit so that we're not just putting them out there. We're looking for people to bid on.
It's a problem I've had for a long time with respect to presenting individual, class estimates in open meeting. Like, I think there are other communities that roll all of them together and any specifics are done in camera, but it's.
Thought it was a good time to bring up, we're looking at different policies,
Yeah,
procedures too, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So are there any other comments with respect to that? Maybe the CAO has a comment.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. It's something that we've talked about before in great depth, and it's a catch-22. I mean, the reality, it's organizations, so I'll pick on Northern Health. They bring all their information in camera, right? And I think the double-edged sword of presenting from a transparency perspective, the information the way we have to justify the work and the budget that we need and why. On the flip side,
that's what
it's
it's
an
gonna
opportunity,
go.
right? So I mean, when we've discussed it, quite frankly, I mean, I think it would make sense from a budget, or I should say, from a opportunity tender perspective, to actually have that information rolled up as a bigger number.
Yeah.
The question is how would it be received in the community? That's the challenge you run into, right? So, I mean, again, it's a council decision at the end of the day from a policy perspective, right?
Mhm.
Because we got really good at justifying the budget and why, because we were challenged on it and we had our due diligence and demonstrated our due diligence. But then we flashed a number, and sometimes, I mean, no disrespect to anyone or any proponents out there, but they could reverse engineer it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the risk you run, but I think it's a great discussion for council because other organizations do it where they roll it up.
Okay, so that's essentially for information. It's in the budget process, and so
Right.
it'll go through that process. Okay, that brings us to item 7.5, admin report 17, which is the North Central Local Government Association Annual General Meeting and Convention for discussion. Ms. Thompson, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Before you use the report, following the February 23rd discussion regarding the potential hosting of the North Central Local Government Association AGM and conference. So there's quite a bit of information in the report about some of the historic findings from hosting this previously, as well as some information about the proposal requirements. A lot of the information is included in the NCLGA's host bid guidelines, which really lays out what a typical agenda would look like, as well as the requirements for the proposal. There's also some financial implication considerations, as well as some benefits and risks included in the report for your discussion.
Thank you for the report. Council's thoughts. Council Grant?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think
Deputy Mayor Goring.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that we just missed a piece in the report, or a connection to the tourism action plan. So when I reviewed that plan, that mentions events 42 times in the tourism action plan, and action number 18 of the plans, it says reach out to local tournaments, events, and festival organizers. Identify how the NRM might best support the growth of the tournament or the event or the festival, ... So to me, that signifies that these types of events are part of, or should be considered as part of, the tourism action plan. Also in the action plan, it identifies bringing in a large amount of people and highlighting the plan, highlighting our communities. So by placing a successful bid for the NCLGA, it brings in 300 plus people. So I kind of see a connection between the tourism action plan and putting in a bid for the NCLGA AGM. I totally 100% agree with perhaps this wouldn't be the year to do that, given the staff turnover. And I also recognize the fact that they do it in May, which is wildfire season, but it's wildfire season for everybody. So it's always held in the region. And there have been a few times when we've been stuck in Dawson Creek because of a fire. That happened to me. It's just the way it goes. Had to drive home through the fire, cried all the way because things are burning. It's a risk you take, right? I just think that it's such a great opportunity to bring 300 plus people in our community for 2 to 3 days, elected local government officials, along with staff, some provincial representation. That's kind of navigating to more virtual, but there's always a few. So I would wholeheartedly support putting this on an action plan for the next council, hoping that staff can bring it up in a fulsome way to consider putting in a bid at the next possible opportunity.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Anders, I haven't heard your thoughts on this yet.
Yeah, I participated in the 2018 one we had here. It was great. I think it went over quite well. As I was thinking about it, I was thinking It's an election year. We've got the staff turnover that basically it wouldn't be the perfect year to do it, but I agree we need to have it come back. Right. And the Fort Nelson First Nations were really big on it too. So having them have an election this year too, would be nice to make sure everyone had time to put it on as at least as good as we did it last time, right?
Counselor Souls?
I had two things to mention. First of all, it was delightful to see the stats on the tournament in the rec center that happened last weekend. And it reminded me on my mind when I saw those specs, immediately went to this and how quickly the community was ready for a lot of people to just influx, and they figured out what they needed to have happen really quickly. It was awesome. And I think that that leads to the second question, or a question, and that is that I know in the report we have the mention of the 2004 net loss description of the event that was in that time, but we don't have any financial summary of the 2018 one. What took place in 2018 from an economic point of view?
do you want to answer? No. So any profit goes to the NCLGA. I can't speak to the loss that occurred in 2004. It was before my time. I've been on the board for North Central Local Government for many, many, many years, and it is my understanding that the NCLGA backs any loss. Like they don't, and we could check that before we put in a bid, but it's my understanding that they are not expecting any community to host the AGM and have a loss. So
I was more curious about whether we did have a loss in 2018 or not.
we did not have a loss in 2018.
Well, and I think an important consideration is not just the direct, it's the indirect as well, right? And there, I don't know if that information's been captured on the indirect benefits or gains from our local businesses.
Actually, May?
And I just wanted to add, because I forgot my little blurb there, that this would be great to partner with the chamber because it directly affects all of our local businesses, right? So they might be willing to partner in putting in the bid as well and then hosting the event. And also another thing is that the NCLGA does provide an event coordinator, and that at least when we did it in 2018, that person did all the sponsorship. Like we weren't required to do any of that. And that's not to say that staff didn't, we didn't use a lot of staff capacity, because we did, but I really like Councillor Souls' comment on how the rec center with not that much notice stepped up and was able to navigate those hundreds of people. And they did a fabulous job. That rec center was hopping all weekend, and yeah, it was fabulous. So thanks for remembering that.
So my concern at the last meeting when this was first brought up was not that we don't do it, right? My concern was that we do it in the year 2027. I absolutely agree that we should do this.
Okay.
I'm just fearful of setting that next council up, because once you accept, we're accepting on their behalf.
Mhm.
And they might not want to do it, right? And maybe we're all here, maybe we're not here again. But I like the idea of putting it onto a calendar. Staff can bring it up. If any of us are here that are on the next council can support it and have this discussion, then I think absolutely we move it forward, because we're a long ways from anywhere. And I think this kind of a thing will continue to put us in people's minds in the north. So it's not only the economic development perspective, but it's the lobbying perspective as well. You get that touch with so many more people around the province. So are we in general agreement that we want staff to calendar, is that the right word? To put it on a calendar and bring it up somewhere early in the next councils? Do I see consensus?
Absolutely. We'll have it as part of the discussions, and well, the staff will have it as part of the discussions and orientation packet. Like keep seeing we, but I mean, I like to add too, if I may, just the intent and the context behind the document wasn't to support the event. Because at the last event, I mean, I was just 1 year into this role, barely 1 year into this role. And there was a significant amount of staff time put into it. But the reward was to be able to present our community and the organization and the rec center and everything else that went with it in terms of the location. And it was a success. And the concerns that were previously brought up prior to 2018, the previous mayor at the time, with Mayor Streeper, was concerns around financial loss, which outside of staff time and what that's not necessarily captured, there wasn't any, right? So the challenge was just that it was as you know, we wanted to make sure we went into this discussion with the eyes wide open regarding the changes to staff and the fact that when that new council sworn in November, we start the orientation process. There's training depending on who's at the table. And a lot is going on at that time to prep it. And the fact that would they be ready and prepared to be able to do that versus the following year. So that was a big key. But in terms of the actual event itself, it was in my eyes with the organization, it was a success, and a lot of work was done to make it a success on both sides and including council at the time. So I think it's a great event to showcase the community for sure. And it'll be stuck in there as part of we're walking through right now, myself and Jaylene, the orientation process for new council and looking at timing for things. And then that's a piece around, that strategic discussions and whatnot with council and where their priorities are and linking it back to previous council's priorities and things like the tourism action committee and their recommendations for sure, because it's highlighted in many places, as you said.
Do you need a motion to move that forward, or we're just good? I would make that motion then.
It's good in this case, especially because council feels so strongly about it.
Yeah.
I think it's good to bring it forward, right? There's a motion for the resolution.
Okay. Okay, so what motion do we have on the floor so that the folks at home understand what we're voting on?
That, no, please go.
That staff bring back the topic of hosting the NCLGA AGM and conference for the next council to consider bidding on the 2028 conference.
Okay, moved by Councilor Gerwing. Do I have a seconder? Councilor Roper. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on though, can I address something else that
Sure.
came up in the report?
Sure.
Okay. As I was going through the report, there was mention about our annual fee that we pay to NCLGA. So gave me pause to consider. And I think that, I would just like for council to consider perhaps sending a letter to NCLGA, asking why they explain how the fee is determined, but when I brought up the comparison to the different communities throughout NCLGA, we are considerably higher given our population. So Dawson Creek has a population of about 12,000 people, and they pay $6,113. We pay, where are we?
6,100.
Yeah, so very close, right? You look at Mackenzie, they pay 2,100. They have a population of 3,714. Prince Rupert pays 5,000, so less than us, $5,769, population of 12,000. Quesnel, they pay $4,728, population of 9,879. And I have more examples that I won't do. Well, except for Terrace, because they have a population of 15,569 people and they pay $5,666. So I think it has something to do with hospital districts, but I would really like some clarification from the NCLJ on this fee structure. And just as background information for council, I think I had let you know when we were making a donation to the BC Rural Health Network that NCLGA membership fee is the highest out of the groups that we belong to. So UBCM, FCM. There's, when we do have board representation on the NCLJ and when when we travel for board meetings, NCLGA covers that cost. Whereas UBCM, we pay for that travel cost ourselves. So that's a consideration. But yes, so I don't know. I would like to make a motion that staff connect with NCLGA and ask for an explanation on why our fees are on par or higher than other like-sized communities, not on par. That our fees are much greater than like-sized communities. That makes sense?
Does.
Scott's looking at me like maybe it doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't, what you're saying makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah.
The comparisons make sense.
Thank you.
It's odd. Yeah.
So I have a motion on the floor by Deputy Mayor Guerrero. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Council Roper. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That carries.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 8.1 correspondence, which is a letter from Francine Freeman, the Executive Director of the Northern Rockies Arts Council, looking for a letter of support for the 2026 Street Festival. Can I have a motion to put this on the floor, please? Moved by Council Gerwing, second by Council Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. It's on the floor. They're looking for a letter of support for multiple applications that they put in to help the street festival. We've done it before. Council's thoughts. Council Gerwing.
Make a motion that a general letter of support be provided to the Northern Rockies Arts Council for their annual street festival, and that they be encouraged to apply to the NRRM's facility fee waiver program for use of municipal equipment at the event.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gerwing, second by Councilor Roper. Any discussion? Seeing none,
Just a comment that it's a great event every year. They
Yeah.
always do a great job. So
Yeah.
yeah, happy to support.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, we have 6 pieces of correspondence for information.
Received for information.
Moved by Councilor Souls, second by Councilor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. There's no new business. So that brings us to our standing items. Are there any council reports? Deputy Mayor Gerwing.
Okay, so February 24th, I attended the BC Rural Health Network Executive Meeting. Later that day, I attended the local seniors group planning for Seniors Week, which is taking place June 1st to the 5th. Put it in your calendars, please. And also we had our first meeting of the Primary Care Stabilization Committee. I thought it was a great meeting. And so our next meeting takes place tomorrow, February 25th. I attended the BC Rural Health Network board meeting. The 26th, I was a panelist. Oh, way outside my comfort zone, people. On the,
Great job by the feedback I've heard.
thank you.
Yep.
On the BC Health Coalition webinar, I spoke on what access to healthcare looked like in the NRRM, describing the distances and barriers we face as remote residents. March 2nd, I took part in the CAO selection process. March 3rd, I met with Urban and staff to discuss the agenda for the March 10th Primary Care Stabilization Committee meeting. And then that was followed by an interview, again outside my comfort zone, with the Tyee.
Thank you
So-
for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll see how that goes. They wanted information primarily on what our community residents are facing in terms of health service access. And they really wanted to speak about losing the community paramedic services and what that looked like in our community. So I was able to provide some information on that. March 4th, I attended the BC Policy Solutions, their continued webinar series on the future of primary care in BC. And this session was really interesting. Shared Ontario as a case study for building a more robust, not-for-profit primary care sector. And it explored how community health centers have functioned as local hubs that combine medical care with prevention-orientated and community-based social supports. So it was a real-life example. And I have the webinar if anybody's interested.
And that'll assist with the stabilization committee that you're on. I mean, that's another example potentially of.
For that, for sure.
how
Yeah.
That might
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. On March 7th, I took in the volunteer recruitment fair, which saw several not-for-profits in attendance. And March 8th, I attended the Mile 300 Figure Skating Club annual year-end carnival. What a great show.
Mhm.
And then also this weekend, the U18 hockey finals took place with Fort Nelson Scotia team placing first in their division. So bringing home the banner. And February 27th and 28th, 29th, Fort Nelson Minor Hockey, as we spoke about, hosted the U11 finals with 11 teams from out of town. Most of them had 20 players, like imagine, yeah, it was crazy. And two local teams took part. And then also that weekend, our U15 team placed first in their division, bringing home the Neural banner, and had an undefeated season. So why I share all this is because it's exciting for our community, but I really wanted to give a public shout out to minor hockey and Mile 300 figure skating volunteers that give endlessly of their time, making these opportunities available for our kids. So thank you very much. Yeah.
It's easy to support them with a rec center like that when they're doing those kind of things, for sure.
Oh, and our staff just did such, our director of recreation services was taking out the garbage. So
Takes all hands, takes all hands.
duties as a side, I guess that's a unionized job, right? It's sorry.
Okay.
It was great to see. It's great to see how everybody just pulled
Fits it
together and made that. Yeah. And yeah, the only negative comment that I heard all weekend, because it was 40 below, the secondary ice surface was very cold.
Okay, are there any other council reports? Okay, so I'll give mine on February 25th. I went to Prince George, attended the NDIT board meeting. We had our annual general meeting, elected the executive, which is essentially the same. We looked at our annual financials, our audit report. We looked at some of the program changes that staff are considering for the next few coming years. We did project approvals, which are in camera until they inform the folks whether they got them. But essentially, they were the large fiber projects along the coast we were looking at. There's a discussion on the legislative review. So the province is looking at Indigenous participation at the board level because the original trust, when they were set up, Indigenous communities were not included. And so they're trying to figure out a way how Indigenous communities can be included, which becomes a big issue because now the same amount of money is being spread up across many more communities. And so that leads to the next thing that they're looking at in the legislative review, and that's recapitalizing the trust. So making the trusts bigger in order to accommodate, well, for a couple of the trusts, the Island Trust and the Central Interior Trust is just recapitalizing them because instead of spending, they spent their original capital. So they don't have anything left there. So they're looking to be recapitalized. So in conjunction with that, there's potential for NDIT, which is sitting on about $500 million, would also be recapitalized, about the same in order to be able to add the Indigenous communities into the potential for the policy or for the expenditures and projects. So the trip on the 27th, the meeting with Casca was canceled because of my unfortunate driving skills on March or lack thereof. Yeah. March the 2nd, I can't even read my own writing here. The CAO selection committee had our first meeting where we looked at 47 applications. We were able to pare that down to 8. It ultimately ended at 7 for us to do our preliminary interviews, and we did 3 of those preliminary interviews today. So that committee is up and running, and thanks to Erin for all her hard work that she puts in there, making our jobs a little bit easier in selecting the next CAO for the community. Okay. There's no outstanding business. Are there any notice of motions for the next meeting? Seeing none, are there any public or news media online that wishes to ask any questions? Seeing none, there's none in the room. Okay, I think that brings us to adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Please, moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Roper. All in favor? Opposed, carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.